I'm with my teeth.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
Welcome back to Love This For Us.
Welcome back.
You know, people say our voices sound like talk radio, like not BBC, but like very calm radio morning show talking.
Oh.
That's how we sound.
Oh.
Especially you.
Well, I was a DJ.
She was on a radio station.
My radio voice. Although I met a guy once, and he was a mailman, and I don't even remember how I met him, and we made the, oh, he's a mailman, and I'm on what was it called? WCCZ. And he's, you're Jill? It was like weird. Then he's like, I didn't picture something like, you don't look like what, and I'm like,
I had the same thing happen to me.
He pictured me blonde with pigtails.
That got weird.
I know. I'm like,
really fast.
Okay then.
Well, just like that young man who told me that my mom says you don't look the same as you do on TV.
But that was so sweet.
It was so sweet.
Yeah.
It was so sweet. And maybe I'm prettier. Who knows?
I'm sure that's what it
I'm
meant.
sure it's what it meant. We want to first address our video last week, our podcast last week, because it has several thousand views, and where we spoke about Micah.
Okay.
As far as Mom and I's dynamic when we film podcasts, if you're new here, Mom does not cut me off on purpose. We do the same thing to each other. It's how we like bounce things off each other.
Did you ever watch the Gilmore Girls?
Yeah.
We fire dialogue pretty quickly.
And we're both like that, both of us. Mm-hmm. And especially when we're passionate about something, or we're like, this is on my brain right now, it has to come out. I think that's how we do things. Also, as far as the Micah situation goes, there's been a lot of other things that have come out and stuff like that since.
Oh, I don't know anything.
Exactly. And I don't know enough about it either to discuss it any further.
Yeah, I haven't heard a thing, so
No, we're going to let that one go and just pray for Huxley. As far as I have seen, he's in a safe place right now. So that's really good news.
As we all should be.
Yeah. And I reached out to you guys on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, my Instagram is my name, @Brazee.
Or me.
And
Jill's
you can follow Mom's Instagram. Get her to 1,000. I think that'd be super fun. You've been trying to get there for a little bit.
Oh, I know. It's ever elusive.
I know. So I will leave our Instagram handles right here on the screen. Make sure you guys go follow us. And give us some ideas for topics. Mm-hmm. But you guys, I did reach out and I asked you guys, what do you want us to talk about? And we got some good stuff. So we decided on one of the things. We got new ones since.
Oh, good.
This is the one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so somebody gave a suggestion to talk about the generational differences in how the culture responds and responded to special needs. Since we are different generations, I think that can go across the spectrum of all things.
Yeah.
So how do we want to start that? You're better at this kind of stuff than I am. No pressure.
How do we want to start that?
The generational differences in how the culture responds and responded to special needs. I only know how my culture responded and how it's responding now currently.
Well, I guess the example would be, somebody that we know who has an adult child with autism.
Yes.
And the lack of services, 30 years ago for that.
Yeah.
It goes, are you going to talk, you can talk about the family, you can talk about how much services have changed.
Yeah.
I
think we can also talk again about the culture and how the culture has changed even since we got Ella's autism diagnosis in 2016, I believe is when we got it, or 2017. It's been almost 4 years. Even since then, it's changed a lot. I know when we got her diagnosis, we didn't really know anyone with autism in our circle that we were friends with. We didn't know anything about it. And
no, not at all.
It went to worst case scenario instantly because we didn't know anything about it or anything about services or anything. So I can only imagine 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was probably even harder and worse. So,
well, I know what I've noticed is when I tell people now, if I encounter new people, my granddaughter has autism, if it comes up, I don't get as much, oh, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. In the very beginning, and that was only 4 years ago, we got very much, I'd say, we just found, however it came up in conversation, my granddaughter has autism. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay? I don't get that anymore.
No, and so, I don't either. Yeah. And I think when I did get it, we're out of focus. Focus. There we go.
Whoa, did we move?
I don't know. I know when I spoke out about Ella having autism. When we got the diagnosis, I was very much took to the internet, as most do. And I got a lot of I'm sorry's and like a lot of fundraisers and like stickers, and everybody wanted to bring awareness, which was awesome and amazing and so sweet. But it also kind of felt like we were getting like a death sentence, and people were like, oh, I feel so sorry for them. Right. Like, let's help them because we're so sorry. Like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. What if that was my kid? And I think that kind of culture has changed a little bit. But it definitely is different because we know people like Jen's a really great example. I mean, Jen is a different age and a different generation than I am, and you as well. Like, she's younger than you, but her life was different because of the lack of education or the lack of services, but she also had a whole different experience.
Yeah, as everybody does. I know in the beginning you very quickly developed a good reply to, don't be sorry for us. I mean, you know, be sorry for somebody that their child has an illness, that you know, chronic illness or an acute illness like cancer or something. So
diabetes,
you know, that was good. I also think, and I think it's probably pretty typical when people get whatever kind of diagnosis. You're like, you know, when Papa was diagnosed with lung cancer, you know, you find a group, and you know, because you have to identify. Right. But so we did that. I think we were very out front in the beginning. I think the important thing that you're doing now is we just live life with Ella. Yeah. You know, and people with autism just live life. You know, people with whatever special needs. I mean, obviously some people's lives are much more complicated, and, you know, maybe they can't experience, you know, all the fullness of life. But to show somebody living their life with a challenge, somebody living their life with a challenge is perfect. Because
our life is really no different than most neurotypical people. Sorry if this is going in and out of focus too, guys. I don't know why it's doing that. But our life is really no different than anyone else's, other than the fact that we do have the element of autism added in, and it just makes therapies and different kinds of schooling, and it makes those kinds of things different, but it doesn't make our lives worse than anyone else, or harder. Well, a little bit harder, maybe, I don't know, because I don't have a neurotypical child and I don't know that experience. So who's to say?
It could be actually harder, you know, for say some child that's getting bullied in school and is very socially aware of that kind of thing that Ella is not socially aware of. Right. Oh, that's real life.
Interrupted by the ring. Pop handled that.
He's screening for us.
He is screening. This is a sacred moment here. But as far as the cultural differences, and I think that's what the question was, right? Generational
differences. Your grandmother did okay with it, but she also, by the time Ella was diagnosed, she was a little diminished herself. Yes. And also had so little intimate contact with Ella that it didn't really.
It was all very generic with Graham, only because Graham was in a different space also mentally, and Ella was beautiful, so it was more of like, I would dress Ella up in these beautiful dresses, and I did that forever because I was like, well, if she has autism, I'm gonna dress her up even more, and like, I don't know, that's like a subconscious thing. It's like, I don't want people to judge her already based on her behavior or how she's acting, so if she looks super cute while she's doing it.
I didn't know that.
Kind of. I mean, I think that's not something that I, like, in my mind was like, you're gonna do that, but I think I just naturally did. Does that make sense? So when I would take Ella to the nursing home to visit her, it was like she was full on, like how I know Graham would like to see her.
Yes.
Puffy dresses and bows, and it kind of carried on for a really long time, and Graham just couldn't get over how beautiful she was.
And Ella also is very adaptable
and interacted
she interacted like, I know what I need to step up my game a little bit here to interact with. Like with us, I think she knows we totally get her. You know, she can communicate as little as she needs to or feels like to still get through what she wants to do. But I think with Graham, you know, like she let her hug her and that kind of stuff that normally wouldn't. But I mean, Graham's been gone 2 years yesterday. Ella's changed a lot too. Ella may not be cuddly now either. You know, she might not have, you know, she might have just been interested in, you know, bugs or whatever she's interested in. So I think our generation, like when we told the generation question, when we told people of our generation, we got the I'm so sorry.
And when I told people of my generation, I got the I'm so sorry.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I think it's changed drastically just in a really short amount of time. In the last few years, I think not only has autism become more relevant because people are talking about it and more people are knowing people who are diagnosed and who may not be what they thought autism was. So now they're like, oh, okay, so autism can be like Ella or Abby or Braylee or Kaydell or Jen. It can be
or Temple Grandin. We were just talking about her the other day. Yeah.
Or my dad or my husband. I mean, really.
Right.
So it just, I think people are more aware that it's not just in a box, Rain Man, all of the typical, stereotypical autism things that people are used to seeing. So I think,
and I don't even think I had a stereotypical idea in my head, maybe other than Rain Man. And did they even say in that movie that he had autism?
I don't know. I never watched it.
I watched it, but it, you know.
I think it was just implied. I think it was more of like he's really smart, but he's got these challenges as well. So I think that's really, I think everything has changed in the last few years. I actually got a message this morning from someone who was giving me advice saying like, I really wish my parents would have never basically outed my autism diagnosis until I was ready. And I think and that's a different perspective, and that's a whole different group of people. And I asked this person, I'm like, okay, well, I do know an adult with autism, and it's never been brought to my attention that that was something that was super special to someone to like say that they have autism, and that I've basically put it out there for the world to see that Ella does have it, and that maybe she would be angry that I put it out there without her knowing. So that added a whole nother element of me having to think about what I share and what I say, and being respectful to Ella about her diagnosis, because it is hers, it's not mine. And that gave me a different perspective. So and I asked this person, I said, okay, well then maybe you can tell me how I can be a better parent to an autistic daughter. You know what I mean? Like how can I move forward and make her feel comfortable? Now I don't try and put Ella out into like on social media without her showing that she wants to be, or like interacting, or she sees a camera and starts getting all cute and hammy. Then we'll talk about it. But I didn't know that was something that was brought up to me. So there's a lot of different spaces on the internet for special needs where people think you're doing something great and bringing awareness and acceptance, or they think you're doing too much.
Well, that's everywhere on the internet, no matter what the topic. So I mean, I think we have to be true to ourselves in a way that is not any feedback I've gotten from people that I only know in the real world but still watch the channel, it's been positive.
Me too. And I think our intention, and I think a lot of people's intention when they're sharing their children with special needs, is more for obvious acceptance and awareness, and just so that you can get an idea of like, if you run into someone in public who may be acting a certain type of way, it might make you think like, oh, well, they're like Abby, or they're like Ella, like I said, or like Kaydell. It just, I think everybody has really got good intentions as far as showing and sharing our children, and the whole family vlogger nightmare that's going on right now about everybody. I know this is news to you because you don't follow the internet stuff, but like family vloggers are being scrutinized right now because of the whole Huxley thing with Micah. And I think, I don't,
by who?
By the internet.
Oh.
By the internet. And there is a problem, I think, with exploiting children very young on the internet and showing too much and sharing too much. But I also feel like a lot of people do come from a really good place when they are sharing their children and are trying to help in the best way that they know how. So I don't know, it's just,
for the one person that might watch it, do you remember when Ella was young and the lady said to you at the park, you know, as Ella was having a meltdown and trying to put her in her car seat, you know, like, aren't you a bad girl or a bratty girl?
She was talking directly to Ella too.
And you know, if that one person would maybe watch that, and the next time the thought of maybe I'll say something, think, oh, well, maybe, you know.
And to spin that, we're currently, even though the camera's out of focus, let's sit closer. We are currently experiencing that with what's going on in the world now. We are becoming more aware because people are speaking up.
Absolutely.
And sharing
That's
stories.
A perfect example.
It really is.
That's a perfect example.
I know we've learned more in the last week than I've learned in my 30 years on this planet. And it's not because you didn't instill in me that everyone is the same and that we love everybody and treat everyone different. But there are so many deep-rooted, woven things into just our DNA from years and years of this going on.
That's a perfect example, because we're both, you know, educating ourselves about something that we didn't shamefully know enough about,
right?
You know, and So I think it's the same thing. You know, if maybe I'd love to think of somebody that had really negative connotations of somebody with special needs, you know, like the type of people that use the R word and things like that, you know, would have the same aha moment to say, you know, I need to educate myself about this topic.
And that's how I feel, is because I am preaching, like, educate yourself, get yourself aware and acceptance, but there's so much that I need to learn about other things as well that I wouldn't have any clue about, because I do live in a bubble of this tiny town and I'm not exposed to all these different cultural changes and people. It would be really easy for me to stay in the bubble and not learn. So with it being forced in our faces all over the internet, all over TV, everywhere you look, you can't help but learn from it.
Right.
So I that's kind of how I feel, like maybe we share too much, or maybe we're helping more people by sharing so much. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how my feelings are on it. I'm learning more and more every day, and I think our generations, all of them, are going to be better, and I pray that like Ella's generation are the ones that I really feel like things are going to change. I really, really do in my gut. I feel like things are going to change.
I do too. I think Ella's generation, you see it already with more peers accepting kids that are different in their classes. There was something, and I watched it years ago, and it was something like Raising Peter, it might have been called. It was like on PBS.
Yes.
The boy had Down syndrome. And it was like, I think we might have watched it when you were a kid.
We did.
So even that would have been 20 something years ago, but how included he was with his peers and all that sort of thing, because they were a small town and they were inclusive. So if we're not that, probably, we always say we're a tiny town, we're not tiny, but
we're small.
You know, if we can bring a little bit of awareness that wasn't there before, you know.
And I think we have, because there was another question there about like, how did you bring the special needs into the events and like make it normalized? And
you know, we've only been able to pull that off at one event, but that's our most sensory.
We've done 2 sensory rooms at the same event.
At the same event,
yes.
Because that is such a sensory heavy event. The rest of the events are outside, and people can.
There's ways to
get away from the thing, but
and we bring Ella all to all of these events now, and because we're trying to, you know, normalize like kids are different, and maybe you can play with her and like see how she interacts, because it is so different from somebody who's a typical 7-year-old and stuff like that. And I think that goes across everything. Like, we have been able to set up these sensory rooms and make people more aware because of Ella. And now
we had more children in the sensory room this year. It's tiny. I don't think we had any kids last year. We had, I think, one last year.
Zoe.
Oh, okay. And then this year we had a young lady that found it as a good place for retreat.
It was really nice to see her be able to let go and relax a little in there too. And it makes you emotional, because you're like, wow, you really can benefit from this. So I think we have a lot of learning to do across all platforms and all social and racial divides. And I think we're gonna be
we should all be learning every day about something.
I agree.
How to make the world better, how to make ourselves better.
And I always say, like, we do preach grace, and I got a lot of comments like, oh, you're giving Micah too much grace and you're being too nice.
Not for us to judge.
Not for us to judge, and maybe we are, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to be like gentle with everyone, because a lot of these people who are ignorant or saying ignorant things or they don't know any better. And some people can pick up and learn and be better, and then some people don't. And it's our job to try and be gentle with the people who aren't as open to it. Does that make sense? I've learned when you are abrasive to people who aren't necessarily open and closed and shut off, they don't take it in very well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they won't take it in. They have a wall up.
Right,
you know,
because they're on defense mode, instead of like, oh, this person's really trying to talk to me and make me like feel good and comfortable and hear where I'm coming from. Because when you listen, you can hear what they're coming from and kind of maybe find a common ground to make it better.
And I still always say be kind, because the internet is such an ugly, ugly place in so many places, that why not be kind?
Yeah.
You know?
It's so
be quiet, be kind, or be quiet. You know, I mean, and yes, there's things you have to stand up for and you have to speak against, but just the general negativity, you know, it's open your heart to learn and accept other people for being different.
And accept other people's struggles because they are different, and don't diminish what they're feeling because you don't experience it yourself. I think that would be the thing. I can't possibly begin to understand what it's like to be Black in America because I'm not. All I can speak for is being a mother of a special needs child who is white. So like, cause Caitlin put out a really good video. Have you watched Caitlin's video? It's good. It's only a minute and 30 seconds. It's great. Cause Kaydell is mixed, and it is so eye-opening because she doesn't always only have like the element of autism added in. She also has the element of him being a Black man in America.
And that's,
terrifying.
With him and
having
his poor
behaviors,
communication skills.
and stuff that could really, so we're all experiencing different versions of things, but I think.
And with anyone with autism could, and that has happened, can be perceived by law enforcement as not being compliant.
Violent,
so male or female, I mean, I didn't really think about that till now, but thanks.
I know.
Ella, who knows by the time she becomes an adult, but
that's something we're going to have to teach her as well.
Right.
And I think more than anything, not just from teaching our kids, because you shouldn't really have to teach your kids how to interact with the police. They should feel safe, and those should be the helpers all the time. But because we do, I think our job is, like with her new school, and everybody's trying to inform the police departments and like police officers how to interact, or to see how this could change for kids with autism or people of color, like how they can interact differently, so everybody can have the experience of feeling safe when it comes to the helpers of the world.
Right.
Because that's what, you were a firefighter for 30 years. You're a helper. Those are the people that you call when you're in trouble and you need help. So it makes me sad that people feel like they can't call the helpers to help them because they're scared of that. So hopefully we can make a difference that way in helping the helpers help people. Too much?
No.
I feel like I'm talking too much about, I didn't want to talk about, but sometimes it's just hard not to when it's going on. And that's what we do here. We talk.
We talk and we learn. I will say that, we're a pretty open-minded family.
Very.
We try to learn, and there's some times, especially now, you run into people, even people that, are going to feel differently than you do.
Empathetic is a good word. I think having empathy is one of the best things that you can do for anybody, is just try and put yourself into their position and think about how you would react and how you can move forward and try and be better.
You've given me a lot of food for thought, like the thought about Ella herself telling people she has autism, and
that's food for thought for me too, because that's not something I thought about, because she is my child, and I
like right now she's just so independent and so herself. I can't imagine she would bother to tell anybody, because
it's just who she is.
Yeah,
but
because her personality is so interesting.
It is.
And it's she is who she is. It's like, what part of her personality is her personality, what part of it is kind of overlaid with autism. It doesn't even,
it's just,
I don't even try to dissect it anymore. It's just who she is.
It just is who she is. And if she comes from the parents like John and I and like this family, I feel like she wouldn't care, only because she would want to help people. I think that would be like instilled in her. But at the same time, I need to remember, like, she is her own person and her story is hers. So I will always continue to share.
I asked her the other day, I said, we're going to write a book, Ella, you and I. And I remember, and I was like, let's write a book. She'd be like, no, but I'm going to keep, because with her, she's a lot like you, a lot like me. First thing you say to any of us, do you want to have a,
no.
Well, like if you say, do you want to have a cookie? We're always going to say yes to that. But like if it's something new and we're always like, no, I don't think we should, so I'm going to keep working on her, because I swear I want to write a book. I want to tell her story,
Yeah.
Like through the years almost,
That's a good idea.
I would love to get to the point where she can say how she feels about it all, because I know she's got thoughts, she's got feelings, she's got opinions.
Yeah.
They're just not.
She expresses them in a different way.
Yeah.
In a different way. This is a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
It is.
I love her little brain. I hope someday she and I can sit down and talk about how does it feel to be in Ella's brain.
I really hope, because I would love to be in her brain sometimes, because the way, like you said, the way she thinks and the way she does things is so interesting to see how it works and how she works things out and how she adapts to certain situations where she's like, well, I'm here and it's going to suck and I'm going to be uncomfortable, but let me figure out how I can make this the most uncomfortable experience ever. Because typically she's uncomfortable in a lot of new things, but so am I. And I've adapted, and you adapt, and she is adapted. So I think everything that we do, we try and do from a place of love and a place of like trying to really teach. We're like trying to make people aware.
Right.
So that's why I've used my platform to speak on things recently that I normally typically wouldn't ever talk about, because I've learned that the uncomfortable conversations are super necessary, and it's a good place to do it with you. I like doing it with you.
I like doing it with you.
But thank you guys for watching.
Thank you very much.
And listening.
We got a little long.
We did, sorry.
No.
It was a lot of me this time.
Did I do all right this time?
You did really good, Jill, you did. I did the same thing, I cut you off a few times. I know, the tea. Oh, let us learn from you guys. How do you not do that? Because I don't know how to communicate with you without us talking like this. We will see you guys in the next podcast vlog. I've let you touch me this whole time, Mom.
I know.
You know how much I love that.
I
Physical
know.
affection is just so fun for me. I love it.
I know.
So fun.
Well, I don't mind you.
I know.
Keep doing it. Yeah, okay. I need it.
We love you guys.
Love you.
We'll see you in the next one.
Peace out. I didn't do finger guns. Bye,
out.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Why do you kiss like that every time? You're the queen. Bye, everyone. Oh my gosh.
All right, so we save.
We save. Bye.
Bye.